Get on the ground! Get on the fucking ground! Imperial Cadets, welcome back to the Training Academy. Today we are going to be going over your new service weapon in the fight on the Forest Moon of Endor. This is the Delta Car 15, and this is going to serve you boys well when you're going out into the field, especially with those damn teddy bears. Car 15 is definitely a weapon that doesn't really need much of an introduction. Everybody and their mother has sort of done a video on it, especially a Delta variation. Well, this is my attempt at throwing my helmet in the ring. So let's go ahead and start off by saying that this is just the same Car 15 that you guys saw in the Primitive War video. And there's a couple of things that we did specifically to this to give it that Delta, Car 15, Blackhawk Down, Blood Diamond build specifically. Sorry, the heat stroke's getting to me a little bit. Hey, who's hungry? But the purpose of this was that I wanted to just sort of build something that was, I didn't want to have to go out and buy anything, especially anything that was like over $9 or $10. So this is essentially what I wanted to do, was build a Car 15 Blackhawk Down, Blood Diamond kind of build with just the stuff that I had lying around without going out and purchasing too many things. So pretty much everything that you see on this thing is something that I had either already had lying around or was already like on its way to me. So the purpose of this build, in addition to just kind of having a little bit of fun, was I wanted to build a Delta-style Car 15 with just parts that I had lying around. I didn't want to go out and buy anything. I didn't want to go out and source anything. I just wanted to put something together from the stuff that I already had. The movie Blackhawk Down really doesn't need any introduction.
You touch my limo and I'll spank you, Night Stalker, you hear me?
Pretty much if you are in the gun community and you are in this space, then you definitely have seen the movie probably 1,000 times. I'm closing in on my 800 watch as of right now.
Shit, that's a shame, that was a nice Jeep.
But this is basically just a 90s inspired Car 15. I've been watching a lot of Blackhawk Down recently, so that's mainly where the inspiration came from, but there's also clearly some Blood Diamond in here too. And I saw a couple clips of Blackhawk Down recently, and I thought, you know what, it's probably time for another rewatch.
Captain Steele, tell your men to stop firing at us.
And then I had a couple of ideas. So let's talk about the parts that we used to put together this particular Car 15, Blood Diamond, Blackhawk Down, whatever the hell you want to call it. You guys know I'm the king of the pores, so going to be rocking PSA for quite a while. So the parts build of this gun is basically it's a 100% Palmetto State Armory. So the upper and lower are Palmetto State Armory. Specifically, the upper is a Harrington & Richardson Car 15 upper, the XM117E. If you don't know, Palmetto bought H&R, and they have been bringing back a lot of retro clones at a pretty good price. So we did go ahead and have this upper lying around from the Primitive War video that we did. Comes with the moderator. I listen to you guys. I know what it's called. But coming back down from the moderator, we have the just a streamlight that I had lying around with a barrel mount that I have 100-mile-an-hour taped a pressure pad to. So go ahead and show clear. So this does have a pressure pad that activates with the light, because I think that is one of the coolest looks that I've seen from the 90s is the 100-mile-an-hour tape with the light mounted to the barrel with a pressure pad taped to the handguard. We've got the A1 style carry handle without the brass deflector, but we do have the good old-fashioned forward assist. We are just running basic Duramags and or USGI mags. We got the green followers in there because that is time accurate. And our lower, even though it's not an H&R lower, it is a PSA lower that we do have SBR'd. And inside we are running a LaRue tactical trigger, which is one of My favorite triggers that I've got here, we are running the Car 15 stock on the back. We've got some string that is holding this canteen sling that we've got, because I will be long dead in the ground before I actually run anything that was made to be an actual sling. Now up top is the most unique thing about this rifle, which is the type of optic that we're running. Albert Falcon red dot on top of here. This optic was specifically made for the original Galil. It was meant to be mounted on the handguard, and you probably recognize this from our MP5K video. But because of our good friend Hammy 3D Prints, we do have a Picatinny mount attachment for the Albert Falcon, and so we are able to mount it to a Picatinny attachment that is attached to the top of the carry handle. This funky look that I just can't stop thinking about. It's definitely borderline cursed, but borderline blessed as well. So I don't know if this is my official attempt at getting onto Cursed Gun Images, but this definitely is one of the builds of all time. I think this thing's dope as hell. I just have had an absolute blast running around with this thing. It looks great in photos. I love the weight of this thing. Compared to something like my 416, it is an absolute featherweight. Definitely really easy to run. It's a simple build, not a lot going on, but it definitely gets the job done. I get why a lot of people like 11.5 or 5.56. I was sort of a 10.5 or 20-inch ride or die, but I definitely absolutely see why people really like the 11.5. Definitely one of my favorite builds that we've done. Kind of throws back to some of the stuff that we all grew up watching or heard about. I know that there's a lot of you that are watching these videos that were probably even alive or maybe even in service whenever this stuff was going down, specifically Blackhawk Down, which is really cool that you guys actually like these weird videos that some dude in a stormtrooper bucket puts out. But really, this is just for entertainment purposes, and I really hope that you guys enjoy seeing kind of fun, unique, one-off builds like this. This is sort of the first build that I've done that isn't based on anything. It's sort of an inspire build, something that I threw together, something that I kind of wanted to build because I just felt kind of creative with this thing. So I really hope that either you enjoyed it, and if you didn't, I am sure you will let me know in the comments. I have been a fan of the movie Blackhawk Down for quite a long time. It was one of the first military movies that I ever really saw, and while it didn't have as much of an impact on me to get into firearms as, say, something like Call of Duty or Battlefield did, one thing that it really did was it spoke to me as a filmmaker. The movie itself is a behemoth. Directed by Ridley Scott, the director of Gladiator and Alien, it has an absolutely star-studded cast, up to and including Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Hello there.
And directed by Ridley Scott. You know, Gladiator.
Are you not entertained?
And scored by Hans Zimmer. You can definitely tell that this is a Ridley Scott film, especially that early 2000s Ridley Scott with things like Gladiator coming out. It's shot very similar, it's got a very similar color palette, and it's got a very similar breadth, even though Gladiator focuses mainly on one individual main character, whereas Blackhawk Down sort of focuses on a much wider cast of people, more of an ensemble. But every character, especially every main character within the movie, definitely has their own unique personalities, they have their own unique wants and desires. Now, whether or not these are 100% accurate to the people who are actually involved, I am not at liberty to say. I am not an expert on the actual history of that operation itself, but what I am is full-time producer and videographer, as well as a cinematographer and editor. The first one actually means something. I come from a filmmaking background, so when I watch these movies, I watch them in a sense of the cinematography, the production value, the pacing, the shot composition, the editing and color grading and stuff like that. So when I was younger and I watched this, and when I was getting into my filmmaking career, but that was also during the time when a lot of military movies were coming out. We had books coming out like American Sniper, Lone Survivor, Act of Valor came out when I, kind of around that same time that I first started seeing a lot of these military movies. I actually ended up seeing the movie a couple years later when I was closer to middle school, high school. Actually, funny enough, it was a movie that was on a hard drive that I got from my father when I started getting into editing. I would sneak up to stay up editing on projects that I was working on, you know, instead of doing my homework. But I would have multiple screens up and I would have the movie playing on one screen while I would be editing whatever I had shot previously on another screen. And so I actually ended up watching the movie late at night, sneaking up, playing hooky from going to bed on a school night. Probably ended up watching it on that computer 10, 15, 20 times, you know, over the course of the next year or so. And eventually ended up buying the DVD because I just thought it was a fantastic movie. And Blackhawk Down being really the first one that I saw, that sort of really stuck with me, especially especially in terms of my color grade, in terms of my shooting, in terms of my editing. There is a couple videos that we made in high school that hopefully will never see the light of day, but we color graded them to look exactly like Blackhawk Down because we wanted to sort of emulate that Ridley Scott style. Oh, I'm sure my parents are so proud. I don't know why I never went out and got like actual retro airsoft guns, because I didn't grow up with guns. I grew up with like cameras and editing software, Photoshop and crap like that. You know, I come from a very artsy family. I think towards the end of high school, like a buddy of mine was going off to college and he didn't want to keep any of his, like, he had a ton of airsoft stuff. I think he gave me like a Dragunov. I think he gave me like this Noveski clone from like the Expendables. I never shot an AR-15 until I was like 24 years old. No, that's a lie. I shot my first one when I was 18, but after that, I didn't shoot a I really didn't shoot a semi-automatic rifle that wasn't like a 270 BAR that my dad had up until I was like 24, 25. And then at that point, I had kind of started to get into guns a little bit and started going down my crazy path that I ended up went to, and here we are. Hi boys, I hope you enjoyed this little rant that I went on, and I hope you enjoyed us showing off sort of this Delta-inspired Car 15. I've had a ton of fun running around with this thing, so thank you so much for checking this thing out. I greatly appreciate all of you guys checking out these videos. They're a ton of fun to make, and the interactions that I have with you guys is definitely the highlight of running this page. So thank you all so much. I really don't have anything else for you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.